Alright everybody, we're going to be going over some chokes from the back. We'll be looking at the choking arm side to start out with here. So first of all, we're going to start with our harness. Like to make a little bit of space between my hips and my opponent's hips. So if we shift right here, you'll see that there's a little bit of space right here. I find that it's much easier to get my arm where it needs to be for the choke if I have this space with the hips. If I'm too close, even though I'm much bigger than Mona, my arm doesn't quite make it around. So I'm going to stay at a little bit of an off angle here. There's lots of different ways you can hold your harness. Some people like to come up heavy underneath the armpit right here. I personally like to take my ulna and radius, curl my hand like this, and set it right against this side of her neck. And then I just like to grab my hand like this. When we fall to our side, you'll see that if I kind of curl forward, it'll bend her like this and puts a lot of pressure on the back of her head. It actually helps me scoop and get a bite underneath her neck. So I like to play a little game right here. So as we fall to our side, I want you to see how my chest kind of points up to the ceiling. What I don't want to do is be on my hip and my shoulder on my side like this. It's really hard to articulate my arm like this because my weight's on my shoulder and my tricep. So I like to go a little bit more chest to the ceiling. You'll see I get a much better bite on the choke. You get more extension out of this arm, and my weight isn't on my tricep as much. I also want you to notice how I don't keep this hook shallow right here. I like to kind of open this hip, and this foot goes all the way up to her top hip rather than trapping this. I find it's harder for her to escape this control right here. I'm going to be using this leg for other things too. So rather than hooking here, I like this to kind of come here. I have my control, and then I like to come down and trap this arm right here. So chest pointing up towards the ceiling, controlling the hand, not the wrist. This is a much more effective lever. So I'm here, and I like to come and grab her scapula right here. She's got like a nice little bone that you can feel, part of her scapula. Even if she's tucking her chin right now, I'll just reach forward and grab this for now. I'm going to grab her hand and push this and trap her arm with my leg. This won't hold forever, but what we want to do is get two arms to work with to her one. Over here, there's a couple different ways you can get underneath the chin. I don't really feel that this blade thing that people teach works. I can also just go through her chin if I am being a little bit antisocial. But right here, sometimes I'll pull on her forehead to get that arm under. If it's a competition and I'm mean, I can grab like across her nose and her face. Go for the choke. I won't do that to her. So I can pull on the forehead. But you should feel that you get plenty of extension and you're able to round this corner for the choke. So now that I have this arm trapped, I'm going to reach back. You can go for the short choke, which is taking the backside of my ulna and radius. So my knuckles are going to face her back, or the camera. And I do this more as like a windpipe choke. It goes across her trachea a little bit more. So I take my forearm across her back, and then I use my shoulder on the back of her head to basket her forward. That's a bit more of an anti-social choke. I'm more apt to do this if she's blocking with her face, not letting me get underneath her chin, or if she's turning so that I can't match up. Yeah, like she might expose her throat to the choke. Ideally, we want like our elbow to match up with her chin. We want the geometry to be right so that I'm applying pressure to the sides of her neck. You'll notice that with this choke, it has more of a tendency to drive across the radius. So it's a bit more painful, not as effective. Arm's getting numb. So we're here. You can also go for the rear naked choke. And I find that this choke right here is more effective, has better stopping power. So here's how I like to do this choke. I'm reaching across, grabbing her scapula. I take my left arm and I blade it behind her head first, like this. I don't want to do this. This gets me in trouble. She's going to hand fight. We're going to end up in a mess right here. I'm here. I blade this behind, pull her hair, blade it behind, and then I feed this through. So for my finish, I'm going to do a crunch forward, and I'm going to send my right elbow towards my left elbow. That should be a more bloody choke instead of a windpipe choke. So round this corner, swim through, then I thread. You'll notice that I'm not trying to like slice her head off or pull back through her neck. So let's go through that one more time. And here, fall to my side, go to her hand, put that down towards her waist, trap. Sometimes I can get the back of my foot across the small of her back, that's good. Sometimes all I do is get a little bite right here. Reach through here, thread, get the tap. Or short choke, palm to palm, here, rear naked choke, short choke.